Okay, hello everyone. We will be starting soon. We'll wait a bit more for some more attendees to trickle in. We've got Mr. Chan here. Hello, Mr. Chan. We have Madam Gracie, Jiki. Hello, Sarah, William Chu. Hi, William. Hi, Grace. Hi, Geoffrey, Cassandra, Henry, and Lily To. And we will also have viewers on YouTube. For those who are watching us on YouTube, you can also chat or ask your questions. Sorry, you can't chat from YouTube. And you can ask questions from YouTube, and I will be able to see it, and I can ask the panelists those questions. Okay, I think we will start now. Hi, everyone. Um, let me see. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday Talk Live. So this is a weekly talk that we do, just a session for sharing ideas, sharing knowledge, and also sharing solutions in these difficult times that we are facing. And this week, we will have a talk on association. And all I have here, as you can see, are actually association leaders. And they'll be sharing about how their meetings and events are affected in this situation. Now, as you know, a lot of associations depend on events for them to fund their membership or association activities. And this will definitely be a very huge impact on a lot of associations when events have to be canceled or postponed. So how are they handling it right now? For the business events industry, for us PCOs, for the DMC, for the venues, and everyone, for the suppliers, everyone is also affected because when these events are canceled, we all have no events. So it's also for us, it's very important that we know how the associations are handling this and what do they expect to do in future for the events, so that we can also plan according to that picture that you are painting in future. So that's what we intend to achieve for this talk today. And I would like to introduce our speakers today. First of all, we have Mr. Larry Ong from Rotary Club of Kuching. Let me just cancel the spotlight for now. And Larry Ong in blue, and he's the president of the Rotary Club of Kuching, which is the first Rotary Club in Borneo. So it is the oldest club. I think for among the oldest associations, I think it is the oldest association at the moment. And we've got Dr. John Chan, the chairman of the Malaysian Institute of Chemistry, Sarawak branch. And I would like to also congratulate him for being the chairman for the second term, I think just recently. And they have their own international events that they run. They also bid for international events to be held in Malaysia, in different states, and also in Sarawak. Next one, we have Mr. Gary Ningkan, the president of the Sarawak Dayak Graduates Association. They have run their own conferences. Actually, I saw the Women's Entrepreneurs Conference that they ran, I think, a few years back. And they also have their annual general meeting and a few small events that they do for members and for the public. And last but not least, we have Miss Alsila Miska, the Miss Alsila Abby, the founder and the president of the Kuching Beach Cleaners. And this is a very new association. So we've got the oldest association and we've got the newest, a baby one. But they've been very active. As their name states, they are a bunch of people who clean beaches. So it's a very noble act because, as you know, we have a lot of litters on the beach, plastic, and I think they found a drone as well on one of their last excursions. And she's going to talk to us about how their activities, their community activities are affected. And I'm pretty sure in future they'll be involved in a lot of environmental conferences. So we'll talk about that later. So I will get out of the way now and I will give the screen to Larry. I'll just set you up, Larry, and please unmute yourself. Okay. Okay. Are you all right there?
Yep.
Okay. So your turn.
Okay, a very good morning to everyone. I want to say thank you to Mona from Place Borneo for inviting me as one of the panelists for this talk. Just for the benefit of everyone, I'll just explain what is Rotary. It's an international service organization. Our purpose is to bring together business and professional leaders to provide humanitarian service. And it was founded on the 23rd of February, 1905. And the name Rotary came about because the first few members, they would rotate their place of meeting and have their fellowship done. So what I'm trying to say that this is the DNA of Rotary, where we believe in fostering fellowship meetings among our members. And of course, the MCO states that there should be no form of gatherings at the moment. So just like what Mona has mentioned earlier, the Rotary Club of Kuching is the oldest club in Borneo and it was chartered in 1936. And looking at the history of our club, we existed in 1936. And we went through World War II. And guess what? The club survived. And the beautiful thing was, it went on and planted all the clubs in Borneo. So all the Rotary clubs in Borneo, it can trace its history back to our club. We're talking about 24 more clubs across Sabah and Sarawak. So despite any crisis, I believe the associations and organizations will still sustain if we choose to believe in their purpose. Yes, no doubt that there are many events that have been cancelled. However, one of the areas of service of Rotary is fighting disease. And if you Google polio, you will see that Rotary is in the forefront of fighting polio. And when COVID-19 was declared as pandemic, this is where we know we are called to do something. So recently, our club, we took the calling and we supplied facial shields to the quarantine center. And some of our members even went around giving food aid to the needy ones. And there's even a task force set up in our district to give any form of assistance to the community. So for me, this is the pivoting moment when I see the strength of an association where all members share one common goal to help one another to bring an impact to our city. So as the president of our club, I totally understand that this pandemic is affecting our operations. But I believe that it shall pass and all of us will come out from it successfully if we are willing to innovate and change. I think it was mentioned in your last Tuesday talk that the word crisis in Chinese is a combination of danger and opportunity. And for us, the safety of our members is definitely our priority. But at the same time, we see an opportunity to help where we can. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to set a positive message in how association can move forward. And this crisis is a global pandemic, but we will go through this together strongly. This is what I personally think of. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. John Chan.
Sorry, do you guys see anything from Dr. John? No. Dr. John, I think your sound is muted, or is there wait, I'll just mute and unmute. Can you try again? Yes. No. No. Okay, so we'll go to the next person. Maybe we'll go through to, hold on, let me just review. We'll go to Gary. I think we start with you first. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Mona and Place Borneo, for having me and the association. Let me begin by extending my well wishes and a great amount of gratitude to all our frontliners who have sacrificed their day and night to keep us all safe. Personally, know of a pair of frontliners in the medical care who not only have to take turns in their shift, but they're also taking turns to take care of their 2 young children at home. So these are the real heroes out there. The least that we can do as members of a civil society organization is to not only give any form of assistance, we can give to them, whether it be moral support, whether it be in donation of PPEs, but most importantly, to add to their cause in creating awareness regarding the pandemic. I would like to just share with everyone, for instance, in our association, at the moment, we are working with various groups throughout Sarawak, in Kuching, Sibu, and Bintulu. They are the DIY face shield makers around Sarawak. So what we do is that we donate rubber gloves to them to be donated together with their face shield to be given to various clinics and hospitals throughout Sarawak. So a little brief introduction regarding the association. Sarawak Graduate Association has been around for almost 20 years. Essentially, the association was established as a vehicle to promote the awareness on the importance of education. We also try our level best to help our unemployed graduates, whether it is through our sharing of information on job opportunities, or even encouraging them to upskill themselves. And we also aspire to be an important vehicle as far as Sarawak is concerned, encouraging our rural folks to embrace digital economy, digital innovation, and new technology. We got shot down a lot regarding this, but we are adamant that this has to begin today and now. Our rural students, they cannot get left behind. The digital agenda is at its most relevant today as we speak, and it's proven that this is the way forward. In this crisis, many may not realize this, but NGOs or CSOs feel the pinch as much as business owners do. We have office rent, we have utility bills and salary to pay as well. Our association, many depend on grants, sponsorship, donation to run. It is very important that we are very prudent with our spending. We were very lucky that last year we got very strong support from the state and various private donors. And we are healthy enough financially to operate for the next 1 year or so. The COVID-19 crisis will definitely affect organizations like ours financially, and also how we operate or conduct our activities in future. So that is it for me for now. I'll pass the time to Alsila.
I think Dr. John is finally online. We'll go back to him, Alsila, and then we'll go back to you. Yeah, hold on. Let me just finish this. Okay. Dr. John, are you finally on?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can now.
That's good.
Great.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. I thought you purposely turned off my microphone.
I might have.
Okay. Thank you, Mona, for having me. And good morning, everybody. The Malaysian Institute of Chemistry, or more commonly known as Institute Kimia Malaysia, is a professional body incorporated under the Chemist Act 1975. So just like the doctors and engineers or surveyors like Gary, in order to practice our profession, we need to have fulfill the prerequisites and be a member of our professional body. So just like doctors, if you are not registered with the Malaysian Medical Association, you cannot practice, you cannot see patients. So for chemists, we will not be able to sign our test reports. Okay, so for Malaysia, there are about 4,500 chemists. In Sarawak, we have more than 300. And this pandemic, or this crisis, was it had an impact on us, because we were supposed to have a very big event early April involving a few thousand people. It's the Science Festival. So because it involves students and it involved people gathering, that had to be cancelled. So, but fortunately on our part, there was no cost involved because of the way it was arranged. And most of our people, all our people work on a voluntary basis. So in that sense, we are okay. Now, as to how we conduct our activities, being a professional body, we conduct a lot of training. Okay, so I believe that, or rather, we have started planning for this year, and because of this situation, our training will be mostly online, right? So in that sense, it does not affect us. But some of this training, because we are chemists, involves practical work. So that type of training we won't be able to do. So those we will leave it till later on. And we also have activities where like fellowship, trips and all these. So I think these will have to be delayed. So in terms of finance, I'm very happy that our branch is actually fairly well to do, and I think we can go on for quite a long time because we don't have any permanent costs. So if you ask me how long, I can't tell you. So, you know, I mean, all you have to do is not spend any money. Thank you. So over to you, Alcelia.
Thank you very much, Dr. John Chan. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mona, for inviting me for this talk as well. Okay, Kuching Beach Cleaners Association, it is, as what Mona mentioned, a very young one. We've just registered last year. As the name goes, we do very hands-on activities, beach cleanups particularly, and we have been doing this for the last 8 years, coming to 8 years now. So as how it says, most of our activities are very hands-on, and we are a very grassroots association. So we do a lot of face-to-face activities. But for this year, we were lucky to have a grant, and this grant enabled us to have a full-time staff, and also to focus more on awareness spreading campaign. We wanted to work with the council, we wanted to work with schools and other associations, but due to COVID, this happened, so all of this had to be put on hold. Other than that, personally, there's a big conference that's supposed to happen also in KL that I'm personally involved, and that had to be postponed too. And that conference, ironically, is on biodiversity. So as we all know, that COVID is due to zoonotic disease. So this is one of the issues that we wanted to tackle in the conference, which is called the ASEAN Center for Biodiversity. And then this conference, along with other conferences that has been planned for the year, is supposed to give up some findings and to collect findings from other researchers so they could come up with a new policy and a new plan for 2030, biodiversity 2030. But all of this have to be put on hold due to the disease. And for us, as association-wise, in a way, gratefully for the grant, we can sustain for this 1 year. But yes, after this 1 year, it's a little bit, we have to think outside the box a bit on how to manage that. And yeah, I think basically that's it. Back to you, Mona.
All right, thank you, Alcila. Let me just arrange the screens again. I think you guys will have to unmute yourself right now. You guys muted. Let me just, okay. Unmute. Okay, so thank you very much, all the speakers. That was a good introduction to your associations and also to the current situation and how it's affecting you. I'd like to note that I think Larry and Gary, both of you said now that the situation is happening and a lot of your meetings or activities are postponed or canceled or go online. So instead of focusing on just your meeting, now you're focusing on what you can do for the community, especially your closest circle, maybe among your members and among the kampong people, what you can do for them. So in Gary's case, you said that it probably now is a good time to invest in digital facilities for your members so that they can, you know, learn and still study and still graduate and be a member of the association. And as Larry said, you guys are involved in a lot of community service to provide PPEs. And I think even though I feel like the clubs in Sarawak right now, they're very well to do, because all of you guys have no problem financially. It seems that you guys are all doing well. Maybe I should choose some poorer associations or something, so it paints a bit more a different picture. But so if when you say that, it's a lot of you also have your costs, like Gary said, you also have your rental of your facilities, or the office rental. You're paying people to work full-time for you or part-time or whatever. So do you see in whether you're doing an online training program, an online conference, or in future, do you see that maybe registration fees will be lower, even though you can do an event after 6 months or a year, because of the economic recession that we're going through globally right now? Do you think registration fees for your conferences, your training program, or even your membership fee for your club, do you feel that you need to adjust that at the moment? Maybe Gary, you would like to start with that.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Mona. There are two things. They are key to how I believe how it's best to run an association. Number one is to always think of sustainability, how you can be self-sustaining in the long run. Number two is adaptability. Coming back to number one, I think many associations, there are many associations out there, like you mentioned earlier, that may not be financially as well to do as some of us here. But it is also mainly due to, because of, this is my opinion, is mainly due to maybe poor money management. For instance, if you receive a grant for your administration of the association, well, you don't spend the whole 10,000 on a certain event. You must allocate perhaps half of it, or 30%. I would say 30%, half of it, always put it on administration, because at the end of the day, the association has to run. So that is it's self-sustaining. And then, of course, you have to look for, if you have to innovate yourself, you have to think of ways to get income, whether it is through events, as mentioned, or you can open up your mind, broaden horizon, go for advertising. Why not? The association, whether many may not agree, but it has to be run like a business to a certain extent. Especially financially, you have to treat it as a business. You have to think of because look, if the association goes down, and then it will be it can be deregistered. Your members will have a confidence in the association, and I'm a strong proponent that before solving the problems of the world, we should be cleaning up our own backyard first. And then second, coming back to, sorry, it's a bit too long here. Secondly is on adaptability. As I mentioned, as you mentioned just now, regarding the fees of membership, the fees for events and so on. These things, I think we may have to consider. We have to adapt to the times. Of course, we can't be charging 100 ringgit for our events now, for instance. Of course, we are not doing that, but this is an example. Because now we are going online and so on. We have to take all of these things into consideration, because at the end of the day, the things that we do is for the community. We want to spread the agenda. It's for community building, it's for the betterment of the state. And I'm also a very strong proponent of if you can't afford it, collaborate. Always collaborate. Do not work in silo. I think many associations, they tend to do things on their own. For the past 1 year, I think all our programs have been working in tandem, working together with various organizations and agencies. Yeah, so I'll pass the time to someone else. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I also like to know about Rotary Club. I know that you guys have a lot of membership dues, and you have to pay to the international bodies. So how does it go for your members? Do you have to adjust that? And for your events, do you see that the Rotary conference, for example, do you see them adjusting their conference registration fees in future because of this?
Okay, thank you, Mona. We are very fortunate that we have been raising funds before this pandemic. And these funds is for some of our existing community service projects, and is also for our administration purposes. And actually, if you ask me personally, we have dues to pay to Rotary International, and the dues vary from clubs to clubs. And our club, the charges is not much, it's affordable in that sense. So at the moment, we don't see how we are going to lower it down, because I personally think it's affordable. Like I said, we still need to sustain, just like how we did after the World War II. So definitely, if you want to sustain an organization, you need to be willing to fork out some form of financial, assistance for the cost. So if you ask me personally, in terms of events in the future, we have two major conferences that have been cancelled. We're talking across the district, Singapore, Brunei, Peninsula, Malaysia, Sabah, and Sarawak. So, but the good thing out of this COVID, right? We understand that I see that this pandemic has pushed for digitalization. So because of this, a lot of them took the opportunity to actually bring their conferences to another level, which is through digital platform. So through a digital platform, I think this is where we are able to lower down the cost, or probably even zero at all. So I think as an association, you need to be quick to innovate in order to sustain. But again, I was just telling one of my members last night, after this whole COVID situation is over, once everything is under control, I personally think that if I organize any seminars, I think I will get good responses. Why? I think it is human nature that we want to socialize. I think the moment we have an event right now, I mean, after the whole COVID pandemic is over, I think people will take the opportunity to come. But of course, we have to bear in mind the cost and all these things that we have to adjust so that it's affordable to the community. Like what Gary said, at the end of the day, we need to sustain. And in order for us to sustain, we need to find ways to make sure that our cause is still impactful until the end. Yeah.
Thanks, Larry. I like that you bring up this whole digital thing. Everyone seems to be talking about going digital, going online, and having online webinars and training programs and all that. And to the point of even some online or virtual tours of our national parks, for example. So I don't know how that's going to be done, but I think it's possible, with the drone and whatever that you have right now. But like Dr. John mentioned that some of the training programs cannot be done online and has to be done in a lab, which has to wait until after the MCO is over. And this going digital, although it's very convenient right now because we're stuck at home, but later on, do you think that a lot more people would prefer to go digital, or will this just be an interim solution and later on people will forget and still go the usual, face-to-face meetings? Maybe Dr. John, you want to start with that?
Yeah, thank you, Mona. I think this situation has opened up a new horizon for options, for people. I believe this pandemic is fast and furious. It's so infectious. You'll come in and then you'll leave just as quickly, I hope. If you look at the SARS situation in southern China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Singapore, it was very serious. Everybody was so scared at that time, and but soon after that, everybody was out, and many actually forgot to wear their masks. You see, but the good thing is that because of that, they've ended up more prepared, as we can see now. So I think looking forward, yes, I think some of our events will have to be held. The practical ones, we will have to actually be physically present. Now, coming back to my what I mentioned just now about opening up the options. Now, I believe in the future, when we have events, we should have the same crowd which will come for those events. Some, of course, would prefer to go to attend online, but I believe the outreach will be far greater. In the case of our institute, we find that we actually have to organize courses in various locations in Sarawak in order for our members to take part. Right, but now because of our current situation, we are forced to think differently. And also in this current, what do you call it? Nowadays, we have this platform like Zoom and YouTube, right? So this enables us to reach out to people anywhere in the world, and they're able to watch us in fairly clearly on the screen and hear us very clearly. So these platforms are being improved all the time. Okay, and you just imagine in the future when we have 5G. Right. So next time when we organize any events, I believe we will still have the same crowd, but we can reach out to more people.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a better way of putting it, because not that I'm against going all digital and all that, but I feel that maybe a lot of people still prefer to meet face to face, and I think that will still be the way, except that yes, the online version will be an add-on. It will be a plus point for a lot of people who maybe don't want to travel maybe within the next 1 year. If you talk about going online, obviously someone from your association must be willing to conduct the webinar, or the programs that you have on webinars or online. So do you see that as a challenge, if you have a lot of maybe members who are not familiar with technology or the adoption of technology? I'll start with the oldest club in Borneo. I'm sure you have a lot of perhaps the older generation in your club. So how have you handled that?
Okay, good question. Rotary, we are an established organization. With very rich history and traditions. But when I took over as the president, I had my fears simply because I have members who are way senior than I am with lots of experience. We are talking about millennials to baby boomers. But this pandemic has shown me a few things, that we are innovating in and adapting in our meetings through modern technology. And surprisingly, we have been conducting our meeting via Zoom. The moment MCO was announced, my club members, few of them took this initiative to promote Zoom in our group chat. So like what I said earlier on, this crisis has pushed for digitalization. Bear in mind, we have members ranging from millennials to baby boomers. But this MCO has prompted them to try it out, and most of them are happy with the outcome. Just to share with you, last week we actually connected with, we created with this platform where we connected with all the Rotarians across Peninsula Malaysia, Singapore, Brunei, and Sabah and Sarawak. So of course, there were some of them where they were not familiar with Zoom. I had to conduct trial session for them. I think it is the willingness to give it a try. But surprisingly, for Rotary, although we are the oldest, we are the oldest club in this talk for today, we actually have been moving, before this pandemic, we actually moved into digital platform. It just came into my mind. We actually have an e-club in Singapore. So don't physically meet frequently, but they communicate a lot via Facebook and social media. So if you ask me personally, there is no constraints if you're willing to try. And I can see more of these e-clubs emerging in the future to cater for the younger generation. Yeah, so that's the one thing I can see, if you want to move forward to sustain our association.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think that's fantastic, and it's amazing that you expect that a lot of aversion to technology might appear with people who are not familiar with technology, but because they're forced to, it's a silver lining for us right now, because then you have more audience online right now that you can tap into. So that's actually a blessing in disguise that we're having here because of the MCO. It's forcing people to adopt this technology that we have. So in future, when we do our online events, webinars and all that, it will be easier for people to actually access it online because they're already familiar with Zoom and all that.
Yes.
So Alsila, earlier you mentioned that you had this grant and you wanted to work with the council to increase awareness, public awareness, and I'm sure a lot of the other associations, that's your aim as well, to increase awareness of what you do, about the community that you are helping, and about the profession like chemists and all that. So during this MCO and in the next few months or maybe a year, because you cannot maybe don't have the ability to do road shows or showcases. So how do you see you guys yourselves doing this community outreach programs or awareness programs right now?
That's a very tricky one. We all did actually discuss, and then the only way we can think of is, yeah, that's what everybody else is doing, is digital. But the content of it have to be quite tricky, because we sort of want to spread the awareness more to our Kuching people rather than to reach people outside. Because when it comes to marine conservation and plastic pollution, the awareness is a bit low over here compared to, yeah, in the West they know it. In Semenanjung, Malaysia, they're quite aware about it. Just over here it's a bit less. So we were thinking of doing video content in YouTube, and we're also thinking of doing webinar sessions. But then, because we're more to our main activity, our main tool is to pick up rubbish, right? That's basically to educate about plastic pollution. But as a general, our association is also advocating on environment conservation. So we also can do other topics that is relating to conservation. So it can be something quite fun. People my age, we don't really cook, so we can do like an online cooking lesson, but using local produce. So this is actually how you support local people. And so you also support farmers to keep on growing all the native food, this and that. So yeah, we were thinking of something like online cooking. We're also thinking of how to sort your materials at home, so you can recycle your cans, your glass bottles. Everything starts from home. When it comes to do proper management of like recycling and to reduce your trash to go to the zero waste lifestyle, everything starts from home. So yeah, we're thinking of something like very home-based activity.
Okay, I think that's a very, very effective strategy for now because everyone's at home anyway. So, they might try it because they have nothing else to do. Maybe they're looking for things to do. So this is the best time. And I like what you said, supporting local produce, because I think this, I mentioned this in the previous talk as well, like this Kita Jaga Kita hashtag, if you saw it. So people say, okay, you guys, when you get that government aid, the B40, whatever you guys are getting, please spend it on the local hawker, the char kway teow sellers and the shops, the kopitiams, because those people are the ones that need us the most. And these people are the ones that are suffering right now. And once we are okay with this government aid, we need to support them as well. So this also applies to local events, the events that we create, instead of international events outside of the country. Spend your money in the country itself for your local events. So I think that's a fantastic thing. And this also, like what Gary said, that the associations, you need to be aware of your finances. Don't spend more than what you can. 30% of what you have is perfectly good. So a lot of business industry players like us, we need to know this and we need to be aware. So we know, our fees will have to jive with whatever you guys can afford. And we need to be aware of how to run online webinars and talks such as this, so that people like Alsila can employ us and can do talks for them. For example, that brings me to the next topic, because the last talk we had, Eric Van Pigelen from the venue mentioned that they are installing a lot of what do you call it, remedies for events later on when we can have events. For example, they're going to have like, that arch where you can walk through, and then it's going to sanitize you or disinfect you. There's a mist arch, I don't know what you call that. And there's going to be social distancing. You sit around a bit further away, and then you have you don't have buffet lines, you have pre-packed meals and all that. Do you see all those things as necessary for your future events? I think I'll start with Dr. John on that.
Right. In fact, I believe history repeats itself. right? So again, I will go back to the SARS situation. You know, everything went back to normal. So if you look at our present situation now, everybody is afraid, right? So we are concerned about being infected and all, and we are told to stay apart. But later on, when the infections are down to zero, or then people will think that there's nothing to be afraid of out there. So then life will go back to normal. But through this experience, people will learn. I think the most important lesson we'll see is that people will be more hygienic, right? So if you ask me whether things will change, I believe it won't, right? But people in general will become more hygienic. They'll wash their hands more, and you know, food preparation, the way the food is served, you know, all these things. I think, yeah.
Okay, that's a very refreshing, you know, point of view, I think, because a lot of people, I mean, it's understandably so. A lot of people are a bit scared right now, so they think of a lot of measures that we must put in place when you do have events. So there's a lot of things that you must put in, even to the point of having a health card declaration before you become a participant to a conference, so that to make sure that you actually don't have COVID before you become an attendee, which is a bit tough, you know. So up to that extent of what we're discussing now, when you do have events, do you think it's important to have an event cancellation insurance? For us, a lot of our conferences that we had the previous years and this year, even those that cancel or postpone, we've never had event cancellation insurance. But right now, we see that it would have been good if we had one. You know, so for those who have actually spent on marketing, spent on tickets for speakers, and you have to pay back all your attendees, it would be good that you can get something back when these things happen. So do you see yourself considering event insurance in future when you organize? So Gary, do you want to start maybe with some of your conferences?
It will be okay. It will be a short one. I think it is smart to think of the insurance for events in future, because I know the associations, of course, we don't do that, but what I'm saying is that there are associations that may spend hundreds of thousands, you know, for a single event, and for them to cancel an event without being financially, how should I put it, insured. I think it is not smart. Of course, I'm for it. I think insurance is the way forward for events, because we're talking about money here at the end of the day. Yeah, Dr. John, you raised your hand. Is there anything you would like to add?
Dr. John, you wanted to say something?
Yes, I want to say something because I'm in a committee organizing a very big event in Singapore in December. I wouldn't say what event it is. We made venue bookings, and now there is a possibility that the event will be cancelled, and contractually we owe the venue about almost 2 million ringgit.
There you go.
But then again, you know, it's being negotiated, and yeah. But in situations like this, of course, in the past, none of these events have ever been cancelled, right? This particular event is an annual event, and it has never been cancelled before. So now with this experience, maybe for large events, we have to be very careful. I would advise that firstly, you must look at the contract. Be very careful with the contract. Start with the contract first. If you can secure yourself using the contract, I believe that is it's a very cheap approach. Insurance for big events, yes, I would advise that, but you take the whole picture into consideration, right? And also plan your commitment, okay? Because insurance is expensive. Now then, for the smaller events, we have to weigh it out. Usually what you find is that for the smaller events, your risk is far less. And if you invest in insurance, you will end up probably making less or even losing money.
Yep. Was that? Oh, Larry, you wanted to add something to that?
I totally agree with Dr. John. Just to share with you guys our experience 2 years ago, I think let's talk about different types of events. The Rotary Club of Kuching, last 2 years, we organized OCBC Rotary Army Run. And we decided to insure all of the registered runners simply because we believe it's important for us to do so. So I think when it comes to the scale of the event, we have to understand what sort of direction we are going to. Like I was just reading the other day, even the 2020 Tokyo Olympics have been postponed, and huge, huge. So maybe it is about time the association should take note of all these insurance in the future. And it's like I agree with what Dr. John said. Probably it's best to understand what are the coverage as well.
Yeah.
So maybe we may need a professional conference organizer, just to help us, advise us in this matter. I'm not doing any promotional work again, just saying.
That's us.
Yeah, so I think it's we have to take this in different angle. Certain events, yes, it's important to insure them, but certain events you have to take note what are the coverage. Yeah.
Right.
Thanks. And I like to when Dr. John mentioned that you need to look at the contracts, and I think that's the best way. A lot of articles online are actually talking about that. Look at the contracts that you're signing. What does it entail? Whether you have to pay upfront, 50%, or can you just pay a bit and then pay closer to the event, so then it saves you. Your cash flow is safer. And this actually ties in also with what Gary mentioned, that you need to have partners in the industry. So if you work well with the venue, they'll be okay with you paying nearer the date of the event. And in the event of a cancellation, maybe there'll be a bit more lax in that. So I think in this situation, I foresee this maybe for the next 6 months to a year. I think it will have to be a lot of collaborative action between the event organizers, you guys, and also the suppliers like ourselves. So the venue, the PCOs. So we have to work together, knowing that not many people will be able to pay a lot. One, the associations will also have to be a bit frugal on their spending. Ourselves, we also need to know this situation and what the associations expect. And I think it's great. Event insurance, a lot of us are thinking about it. As a PCO, we are advising our clients that they need event insurance, but we also know that associations, they don't have a lot of funds most of the time. I mean, for this thing, and if the event is not canceled, then it's just sort of wasted, I would say. So yes, you need to look at what does it cover. Apart from event insurance, any other ideas that you guys can see? How are you guys gonna conduct your events in future, or how are you gonna plan for upcoming events, at least in the next in the year coming? Anyone wants to start? Larry, you wanna give it a go?
Okay, I work a lot in the safety industry. One thing that I noticed that a lot of time when we attend a conference, they will always invite the venue provider to give a safety briefing, and they only talk about the physical safety of the building. I think maybe after this whole situation, maybe they can consider talking about another level of safety, which is like what Dr. John says, hygienic, because this movement definitely moved people to be aware of hygiene even more. So if you ask me, how are we going to move forward? To be fair, I do not know how long will this thing last. And if you ask me, in my own personal opinion, let's say if you want to raise funds, I think we can. The good thing about this COVID, like I said, it has pushed for digitalization. So maybe we can create a platform for generous donors to donate digitally. And in this modern era, I mean, we hear a lot about social media influencers. Maybe we can work together with them, like what Gary said, collaboration. Maybe we can work with them And maybe we can leverage on this platform to raise funds from donors who are willing to support our cause. And one way that I can think of just right now is to organize a virtual concert. You know, just last Sunday, I think most of you guys, I'm not sure if you guys were aware, Andrea Bocelli, he just performed a solo in front of empty cathedral on Easter Sunday. Wow. So you see, if you can tap on such platform, you know, create something similar on a digital platform, people might be able to, you know, donate and give funds. Yes, if there are plenty of opportunities as long as we look deeper, that's what I can think of. Yeah.
Yep, Gary, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, just to add a few things. Thanks, Larry. For instance, our association, we have among two major events that we have coming up. Number one is the Dayak Women Conference. We organized together with Serakop Pintu Dayak Sarawak. That was supposed to be held in July. And then the other one is the Young Entrepreneurs Weekend, the second edition, which is supposed to be held in October this year. So these are among two bigger events that we have for the association. To cancel it straight away, I think it's a bit premature and also rushing to things. But we are now thinking of other ways where we can still organize it, but in a different setting. Perhaps we can do a live YouTube broadcast, perhaps, you know, something similar to this, a forum, an online forum, perhaps. I think that is the way forward. You know, you may not earn, you may not earn as much as you should, but I think the message has to be greater than what you're earning financially. That's number one, on big events. And also, secondly, it is just to share with everyone, one of the bread and butter for the association is we do a lot of this educational and career talks in schools. You know, I foresee that this cannot be done actively in the next 6 months or so. You know, but we have to think of the children in school. You know, how are we going to deliver the message to them regarding career options, regarding which schools to go, what courses to take. You know, so what we are thinking now, or what we are actively doing as far as the association is concerned, we create on a regular basis our various materials, digital materials such as infographics and so on. We share a lot of job opportunities, adverts in our social media platforms as well. And many realize and many do not as well that social media is a very powerful tool. Everyone is on their phone these days. I think, you know, we should be, that is the way forward. And of course, ideally, this is just an idea. I think each organization, we should aspire to even have our own app, our own application. Why not? You know, that's a fantastic idea for an association to have a personal identity, a digital identity, you know, where you can have an application, your members can have access to it. They can know all the current events and what are the messages that we try to deliver to them. Yeah, thanks.
I think that's good. And before this, I think if you mention that to associations, a lot of them say it's not necessary to have an app. You know, it's just a waste of money. Nobody will download it because they don't want to waste space on their phone and stuff like that. But now suddenly, you know, it's a needed thing. It's a necessity, right. And I think that's fantastic. It's a silver lining, I guess, for a lot of people when they see this. Yeah.
Just a quick one. I just want to add something, just to add to what Larry said just now. An important aspect of for an association to me as well is when you do your events or whatever activities that you do, is always to have a proper documentation of things. You have to gather all the photos, proper reporting, and this actually should be converted into some sort of a prospectus. At the end of the day, you want to get donors to invest in you, invest in what are the things that you do. We can't just go to any donor and say, look, we are doing this, we are spreading education, awareness education, but there's nothing to show for, you know. I think young people are very talented. Young people have a lot of ideas. Sorry, Dr. John, I'm not saying that older ones are
Uh-oh. You see,
not.
he
Hey, I'm
gets
still
angry.
young, you know.
What I'm saying here is that people are more tech savvy these days.
Mm.
There are many instruments to use. Make it presentable. You must have a very attractive prospectus. Yeah. Thanks, Mona.
That's okay. I'll just go quickly to a very good question that we have from someone from YouTube actually. So from Farah Zawani, do you think we would still need a big venue space if we are to adopt both physical meeting and virtual gadgets or virtual meetings? What do you guys think? Alsila, maybe you want to start with this.
Thank you, Mona. I think it depends on how you want to conduct your event, I guess. Whether, because physical touch is still, and the social, that face-to-face touch is quite important still and that is also how is your goal of your event. If if you want to inspire people, you want to give that energy, you want to transfer that energy and send out that vibe, and it's more effective on a more face-to-face kind of a situation. But yeah, I think it depends. I think right now we can learn that it's possible to do things both physically and online. So if a big space is needed, do we still need a big venue space? That depends on how I think that person wants to conduct and wants to have, how they want to tune their event. So yeah, I think it's a kind of depend situation.
Okay, Dr. John, you had a few events lined up. So would your events be considering smaller venues right now? But you said that the turnout will still be the same. You think that the same number of people will still turn up. But will that be the case, or would a lot more people prefer to actually just listen online? What do you think?
I think it would depend on the type of event. Right, I do agree that we will have some events where we may need a smaller room, right? And because a portion of the people will be online, and I also believe that the number of people participating in future events will be larger because we'll be able to reach out to those that are not physically near the venue. Right now, as to those big event venues, I believe that they will still be popular. Okay, because at this time everybody is scared the events are cancelled, but later on, when there's no more virus, when we have a vaccine, we are more prepared. People will go back to living their normal lives. We are all human beings.
Yep.
Right, and we have to interact with one another.
We're social animals, they say.
Yes.
Okay, Larry, you wanted to add something.
Okay, like I said just now, it is our human nature that we want to socialize, social animals. But I'll bring this to another perspective. We are just looking at business conferences. But let's say I want to do an event on a personal basis, like a wedding. I would love to have a large venue where I can invite all my relatives. I think my relatives would love to come too, instead of ending my weddings via what they call a digital platform.
Yeah.
I think it all depends on what type of events. And let's not forget that events also has its direction where it's something is very personal to us. A wedding, for instance. So I think like what Dr. John said, people will still come at the end of the day. Yeah.
Okay, there's another question. Sorry, Gary, you wanted to add something.
Just to add to what Larry and Dr. John said, another aspect of the importance of a big event is also networking. And this we did not get via this digital platform. I'm not saying that it can't be done. It can be done, but it's on a more personal level. If you do conduct this kind of bigger events where there's a mass crowd, I think the networking setting is different, and I think that is an aspect that we should also be looking at. Yeah.
Okay. This is a very good question, also from Farah Zawani, also via YouTube. Based on your observation, what is our industry players' readiness to evolve and adopt digital changes? or environmental changes like the pandemic that's currently affecting us. Say, for example, you're talking about conducting more online activities or events or, talks and all that. At least in the near future, do you think our local industry players, the PCOs, the venues, the DMCs, do you think they're ready to fit into this current event setting that you guys have in mind? Larry, you want to say something?
Okay. When the MCO was announced, I think none of us were ready.
Mm.
I, for once, I was like, "Whoo, no meetings for a few months or few weeks." Then that's when we realized that maybe it's good we can try to connect using Zoom, right? It was the first trial. And when we tried it out, of course, there were a lot of feedbacks, may it be negative or positive. Some were saying that, oh, Zoom is malware, it's dangerous and things like that. But what was the beautiful thing was even the CEO himself came out and said that we will improvise. So I think it is true, it is when you go through a crisis, you understand the need to innovate. And even right now, we have a lot of things that have been online. Just last week, LinkedIn contacted me from Singapore. I thought it was a scam. They wanted to offer me a free online training courses.
Wow.
So they contacted me via Zoom, early in the morning. The lady called all the way from Singapore. So even right now, we have a lot of free online courses. Harvard, I think, is giving out free online courses. Even Scribe, this book thing, is free. So again, if you talk about readiness, I think this is a preview to what we are supposed to face in the future. And I think being a millennial, okay, I'm young, being a millennial myself, I actually have to say that I'm quite comfortable with this platform. But nonetheless, if you give me a chance, I would love to shake your hands. When I meet you, just like what Gary said, networking is still very important. But if you can't, this will be another platform. And if it works, and look at us today, we are connected so well.
Gary, you want to add, based on your experience dealing with venues, with event organizers and all that, do you think they're ready for these digital events that we have, at least in the near future? Like Dr. John said, eventually it will go back to normal, but there must be a portion of your event right now will have to be online. So are the local suppliers ready to cater to that?
Okay. There are two things I want to mention here. Number one is, as far as the association is concerned, we have been doing this online meetings for the past 1 year because a few of our ExCo members are actually in other places. So we thought that it is unfair to neglect them. So we have practiced this Zoom setting for meetings for the past 1 year. So we are quite comfortable with it, to be honest. And then secondly, to answer your question earlier, Mona, is that I think there are providers that are ready. I believe we see a lot on Facebook, on YouTube. A lot of these events are actually being broadcasted live in these platforms. For instance, last year when we did the Young Entrepreneurs Weekend, we also broadcasted the event live on YouTube. Sorry, on Facebook. So I believe that our local providers, we are ready. Because I don't really know what the other associations, what they expect out of the providers. But as far as we are concerned, the providers, there are providers that are ready. There are some that they are still learning, but we are there, Mona. We are there.
I think I like the way how Larry is saying nobody is ready at the moment and everyone's feeling their way around right now, and we're all learning in this, and it's a great thing, and it's great that you guys are sharing, so the suppliers, the providers, we also know what's expected of us. We actually have a question which has already been answered, but I'm just gonna read it out. It's from R Nizam, also from YouTube. RNZM, I'm assuming that's Nizam. In light of the whole situation, and it was mentioned that the silver lining is digitalization. Can we see events in future that be both available for people to attend, personally or virtually, and that's an extra revenue. And I think Dr. John mentioned earlier that this is actually the case. This is the silver lining that we see. So we'll see a bigger crowd, because then now we have the online crowd that you can put in at a lower cost. They don't need to travel. They pay maybe a slightly lesser registration fee. Now, this other question is quite interesting, but I think it's not related. From Jerry Terrick from YouTube. North Korea claims to have no COVID-19. Rewind the time a bit, and it says that Kim visited China 4 times, and they are good allies. So is North Korea part of this crisis as much as China? I think we leave that to other people to discuss a very political question. We are 5 minutes over 1 hour already, so I think we'll call it a day. And before that, any other items that you want to add on to whatever you guys said? Yep, Dr. John.
Yeah, I think one important thing that I would like to suggest, to event organizers in the future. We talked about event insurance.
Yep.
Okay. If you can, what do you call it? Plan your activity properly, the contracts. If you can tie in the fees, the payment of fees, together with your contract for venue and equipment and all this, then that in itself will save you the insurance. Because when people pay the fees, you can mention that in the event that the event is cancelled due to these reasons, only a portion of your fees will be refunded, or it's not going to be refunded, right? So that can use to cover your other costs, right? And then with the venue, you can also write the contract in such a way that if it is cancelled due to something like COVID-19, then you're only liable to a certain percentage. So that way you cover yourself, and you may save a bit on insurance. And then in terms of readiness, talking about whether we are ready or not, I think we are very fortunate that nowadays the cost and the effort to be ready is actually very low, right? So I think it's all down to us whether or not we want to be ready or not. Okay, it's very easy. I mean, if you want to connect, just download Zoom, or you don't even have to download, just click,
Yep.
Yeah, that's all from me. Thanks.
So you're saying that you want to shift the risk to us by having the event managers sort
No,
up the so you're doing right.
You get to charge more.
No, what I'm saying is
Just
that
kidding.
the event, that's why I would like to say that at this is where we need PCOs like Mona.
Yeah,
so that you can advise the event organizers what to do, so that they don't have to spend too much money on insurance and all this.
Okay, good comeback. Good comeback. Oh yeah, yes, Alcila.
I just want to add in a little bit about the environmental changes, as what we all sort of discuss and agree that going digital right now is how things are being done, and we foresee that that's how it's going to be involved also in future events planning. One of the silver lining that I see about going digital is, of course, like now people can just do everything from home or wherever they are at. They don't really have to travel to the venue where the event is held. So that in a way is kind of good in terms of carbon emission. So you use less cars or less planes. I don't know that's whether it's very good for the economy, but yeah, so you somehow reduce carbon emission, and carbon emission, as we all know, is a drive towards climate change. So yeah, knowing that this is possible, going digital is possible, we can see a shift. Hopefully this can change in a way how we can contribute to reducing our carbon emission. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's quite interesting, because a lot of events before this, they were trying to be more sustainable, more green event and all that, and you get a lot of greenwashing here and there. Or they don't use paper, they don't use plastic bottle, but this is like, a forced sustainability program for everyone. So I think that's a good point that you raised, and that's also a silver lining now that people can see it's possible to actually do this in a more sustainable way. Okay, I'll stop right here, and we don't have any other questions. We do have some comments, and you can also see them if you want to respond to the comments. For those of you who have any other questions, you can always email back to us or just post on our Place Borneo Facebook. Thank you to all the speakers for being online with me today. And thank you to all the attendees and the viewers on YouTube for watching us. And we'll see you guys next week on Tuesday, again at 10 o'clock. All right. See you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Stay safe, everyone.
See
Yep.
you.
Stay at home.